All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. It's your girl, Zoe, and we are back. Today, we're going to be discussing 5 non-negotiables for better mental health and how to learn to better show up for yourself. And these are things that, in terms of being able to show up for yourself, it's that sort of time of year. A lot of people are committing to particular goals, and in terms of the follow through of those goals, once that motivation fades, okay, you say on Monday, I'm going to track my food for this entire week. It's not that hard. It takes 3 or 4 minutes a day. It gets to Wednesday and you have a meal that there's just a few too many moving parts for. And then it's like, you know what? I'm just not going to track this meal. Okay. You then get to Thursday and you just don't think about tracking it. It's not front of mind. And this is something that's really important to note, is that when it comes to achieving goals that have a timeline of, say, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, a lot of people set fat loss goals and fat loss journeys that go for, again, 8 weeks, 16 weeks. They're typically not like even a 4-week shred. Okay. That might be the only thing that you weren't worthy enough of doing things like utilizing your calendar and just chop wood, carry water with ticking off those particular tasks. So in terms of better showing up for yourself, one thing that I really wanted to talk about today, and it's something that I wrote a bit of a rant on my story drafts, and then I didn't post it because I was just thinking, it's like, you know what? It's not like anyone chooses to forget to prioritize and put their goals first. But you know what people do choose to do? Choose to not prioritize something as much. And that's where today I want to hopefully bridge that gap and then explain as well just the benefits of when you do show up for yourself. Okay, it counts on those days when you are not motivated. It counts in those moments where it feels most difficult and it feels like you want to quit. And this is where today we're going to be diving into, again, a topic that I think is going to help a lot of people on their personal and fitness journey. And for anyone who's watching at home, just because you can see this in the bottom corner, it's when I upload this on YouTube, this little glass thing from Amazon. So I've been prioritizing drinking more water. And by drinking more water, emphasis on the tip, water without other stuff in it. I'm very guilty of having little like vitamin C tablets in my water, like the effervescent ones that give it a bit of flavor. Obviously like amino acids, that sort of a thing. Lemon, apple cider vinegar. I have my hot girl water, which is apple cider vinegar, lemon. Sometimes though, and I don't say this often because I feel ashamed and embarrassed, I put stevia in that hot girl water. So the lemon, the apple cider vinegar, I put stevia in it. So it's like a cordial. And then again, very embarrassing for me to admit, but I also still buy the cordial where I like every now and then I'm just like, I got to have some cordial in my water. I hate the taste of water. So what I did was I got, and this being accountable to your goals, I was like, enough. You need to be an adult. You need to be able to drink normal water and stop being such a crybaby about it. And with that, I got this beautiful glass on Amazon, which if you see, it's like a milkshake sort of container. I think it's about 750 mils, but it's a glass straw and a glass cup and a little glass lid. So obviously you've got to be gentle with it, which it's always nice to practice being gentle. That's one reason I love my glass Tupperware containers as well, is because it teaches me not to throw things around, which is great. And with that, I've made this strictly a cup I can only have water in, so I'm not allowed to mix stuff in it. And because the novelty of the cup is yet to wear off, I want to drink out of this new cup more, which is great. But the only thing is, because I've made a deal with myself, I've made a promise with myself that I'm not putting anything else, just water in this cup. I don't want the straw tasting funny. I don't want anything tasting funny. Okay. I have drunk so much water. And so that's just, I guess, another example of showing up for yourself. But I want to just share that with everyone, because some of these things that we think are really insignificant, and we should just be able to do them. Sometimes in order to succeed, it's important to remind ourselves that successful people, when it comes to achieving their goals, they make it easier for themselves to succeed. They remove temptations, A, but then B, they also make it easier to have said sort of XYZ activity set up for them to hit their goals. So I want to highlight as well, I'm in week 5 of my diet for the first. We were originally going to do 8 weeks, and then with the 8 weeks of dieting, we were going to have 8 weeks and then a 4-week break, and then go into my bodybuilding prep for next year, which starts in December. And my coach and I were sort of looking at my measurements and we're like, we might not be getting that 4-week break we thought we originally once got. I'm just focusing on the day-to-day, and I love having someone to tell me what to do. So, which words I would never think would leave my mouth. But I absolutely just being told, being led, it's so beautiful, especially when you live a life where you do a lot of leading, just running your own business, that sort of a thing, managing other people. Being in my masculine a lot, it's something that I can do. I can run on the caffeine, I can run on the fumes, sort of a thing. But where I just feel so, so great and it feels so aligned, it feels so good to achieve my goals, is someone just telling me exactly what I need to do. And I just am obsessed. So the last 5 weeks of my diet, really not missed a beat, which has been awesome. I've made sure to prioritize my weekly step average. And then as well as that, in terms of my food, I've been pretty impeccable, if I do say so myself, with preparation, with tracking, with minimizing meals going out, that sort of a thing, with minimizing picking, which was a big journey for those who have listened to the episode in regards to healing my relationship with food and stress eating, all that sort of a thing. It's fantastic now to be able to go 4, 5, 6 hours in between meals and not pick and not be like, I just need something little, that sort of a thing. It's so amazing. And I have to say, this little bit of accountability that I've had from my coach has been absolutely awesome. But also just surrendering and being like, if I do everything she tells me to do, I'm blaming her if I'm not in the best shape of my life. No, I'm kidding. But if I just do exactly what she says, then each week when I submit my check-in, instead of me being like, why am I not achieving this result? Instead of her being like, why are you not achieving this result? We can look at the data and be like, okay, your body has responded in this way. Because it's responded in this way, we're going to do this. So it's really data-driven decision making. And I am obsessed with data, so that's great. But it's also in terms of the obsession that my coach has on data. Oh gosh, we're just so aligned. So I absolutely love it. Anyways, today I'm going to be sharing my 5 non-negotiables for better mental health. And I want to highlight that this better mental health, it is really cyclical with being able to better show up for yourself, because the more that you love yourself, the more of a beautiful internal state you can create. It also means that more of an external state you can create that you enjoy too. And so, yeah, showing up for yourself, it's something that's really big that I really preach with a lot of my clients, okay, or a lot of my friends, that sort of a thing. I'm like, if you want something, like, you can achieve it, but there are particular beliefs that we have to break through, we have to change. Your new life is going to cost you your old one. Stop trying to hold doors open that are inhibiting the ability for the door in front of you to open for you to walk through. Okay, let the old doors shut so that your new ones can open. Anyways, so the first thing that I want to discuss is daily action plans. And so one thing that's really important to note is that with our clients, one thing we talk about a lot is our 24-hour action plans, okay, or our 24-hour action lists. And so with this, I actually learned this from are you okay? You right, Mum? Okay. My mum just broke a glass for those watching along on YouTube. Anyways, she didn't swear. We've also got a swear jar, so that's another habit that we're keeping up at the moment. So I'm going to chop that bit out for the podcast, but I might leave it in for the YouTube. Anyways, Mum just broke a glass, everyone, so we're back. Now, in terms of using 24-hour action plans, it's something that I first was taught by some previous mentors of mine, which was really cool. And I didn't really understand the weight of it, but I did it anyways. Okay, I got my notebook out every day, and in 15-minute increments, I wrote down exactly what I was going to be doing each day. And so in 15-minute increments from the time I woke up at 5 a.m., okay, 5 a.m. to 5:15, what am I doing? Okay, a lot of people might sort of be disgruntled. They'll be like, I'm actually just getting up. I don't want to think about X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, do you want to prioritize things better? What's happening in that 15 minutes, that first block? Now, for me, one thing that I will highlight, I will share what I do first in the morning, and that usually takes 15 minutes. And this is where, as well, with writing down the 15-minute increments of your day, it forces you to come face first, okay, head on with your blind spots that you were not addressing before when you were telling yourself that you actually didn't have enough time to complete X, Y, Z. Okay, you didn't have enough time to meditate in the morning. A lot of people say they don't have enough time for mindfulness activities. I'm like, I guarantee you 1000%, if you don't think you have time, you definitely need to be making more time to meditate or to practice mindfulness activities. But I'm going to explain why in a moment. Okay, when it comes to having some daily structure, especially during prep, it's important to remember that every minute counts. And I like to highlight this too. You obviously have a lot of time of the day a lot of time in the days, where you'll be doing cardio, you'll be doing training, you'll be doing posing, but with your training, with your cardio, with everything in between, if you're not recovering just as well, you'll look stiff on stage. I've got a really cool photo of me on stage where both my knees are bent. My knees in prep, all my joints was so sore, and it was really difficult to pose, and I didn't go the route that I'm going now, which I believe now is just an absolutely awesome one. But I didn't go the route that I am going at the moment, and it was not a joy to do things like that. But so it's really important that when it comes to your daily structure and when it comes to training and your fitness, your health, okay, we've got the training, we've got the nutrition, okay, but if you're not prioritizing things like the mindset and things like the recovery, then all of a sudden it just becomes a bit numbing just makes you want to feel numb. It feels a bit overwhelming. And a lot of the times people will get to a point where they've just overfilled their cup so much that it gets to the point where they're like, you know what? I just don't want to prioritize my nutrition right now. Okay. I've got to focus on work. Okay. I don't want to prioritize my training right now. I've got to focus on work. And it's like, whoa. With the minimum effective dose that you need for your training and nutrition to be organized and to be helping your life, it's really not that much. And for the health benefits, whereas if you were to die tomorrow, your boss would replace you by next week. Okay. You know where you wouldn't be replaced? In your home. Okay. You know where you wouldn't be replaced? With the people around you that love you and look up to you and see you looking after your health and think, wow, that's so inspiring. So when it comes to having a clear plan, this is going to help to keep you focused and accountable, and it's also going to help you manage stress, okay? And how this works is that the structured planning reduces decision fatigue and improves mental well-being. Okay, studies show that time management reduces stress and anxiety by helping individuals feel more in control of their day. It's a tool that creates a mental space because you're not constantly scrambling to remember what needs to be done. An example, and so my action plans, which I highlighted, are especially important during prep, but then also when I'm not prepping and I'm focusing on my business, I'm focusing on different things in my life. Okay, between training, meal prep, coaching clients, stretching, okay, we've got to still sleep 8 hours, everybody. So it's not like we can do what we did last time where we were going to bed at whatever time and waking up at 2 a.m. and we're like, let's go, okay? We've still got to sleep 8 hours. We've got to stretch. We've got to pose. We've got to train. We've got to meal prep. We've got to eat. Okay, we've got to train our clients. We've got to work. Okay, we've got to have those client calls. We've got to have those business meetings. Okay, there's lots going on. When we know what we're doing hour by hour, even if things don't go perfectly, having a plan will help to keep you grounded and moving forward. Okay, with my lists that I write, so I have many to-do lists that sort of rotate around where they've got different purposes. But with my to-do lists, the best thing about those to-do lists and the accountability of those lists is if I don't complete everything on a specific day, if it's a daily to-do list, or if it's a bigger to-do list, it's like, let's just get some of this stuff done in the week, or this just a bit of an everything list. If I don't get everything done on it today, but I look at that list tomorrow, I'm reminded tomorrow, oh, hey, let's just try tick off one thing, okay? One thing that sits in big, bold letters at the top of my list is tax. And so it sits there because there's little things that I can be doing daily and weekly when it comes to reconciling transactions, when it comes to paying people, all that sort of a thing. There's things that when it comes to running and organizing the businessy side of the coaching business, that by having that reminder there, I'm like, okay, what's one thing I can do today? Do I need to book a meeting with my accountant? Okay, how am I going with making sure that I'm still putting funds away into that account that then gets sent off to the government, that sort of a thing. So an example, again, to highlight is that when we have our days planned just that little bit more, okay, if you want to start to really see and do a bit of an inventory check, okay, do a bit of a daily audit, see what time is being wasted, begin with 15-minute increments, okay? And write down exactly from the moment you open your eyes to the moment you close your eyes, exactly what is happening in your day, okay? And for myself personally, I do this first thing, okay? And I would show you, but I'm filming this on my phone, so I can't. So what I do first thing is I wake up, okay, in that 15-minute block from about 5 a.m. to 5:15. Or if I wake up at 4:45, then of course it's 4:45 to 5 a.m. But that first 15 minutes, and it takes me between 15 and 22 minutes, depending on whether or not I've got to feed the cats as well, okay? The first thing I do in the morning, and I refer to this as my personal admin, all my clients know this as well, okay? First thing I do, I go to the bathroom, okay? Because the next thing I'm going to do is take my scale weight. Then after I take my scale weight, I have my supplements and a glass of water. Okay. After I have that glass of water with my subs, I make my coffee. Okay. Then I sit with my coffee, habit stacking. And when I sit with my coffee, only then do I open my phone. if I'm not doing any mindfulness where I set a timer for XYZ to do some breathing. But first thing I do after making coffee, okay, then I sit with my phone with my coffee because I love the coffee. It makes me feel so good. Even if it's decaf, I just absolutely love it. And what I do is I sit with my coffee, and the first thing I do, I open my phone, I open up my coaching app for my coach, and I put my scale weight in there. Okay, I can't forget that. And then I go into MyFitnessPal. Okay, and I fill in my MyFitnessPal for the day. Now, because I've been tracking for a while, a lot of the entries that I have are already sort of pre-logged to a degree. So the bulk of my day, the foundation of my day, which we also do when we talk about success menus when it comes to creating meal plans for clients, the bulk of my day has quite a few foundational ingredients. The ingredients in my bulletproof coffee in the morning don't really change. I'm always going to have that collagen. I'm sometimes going to have a little bit of cacao powder. I'm sometimes going to have ghee or MCT oil. So I'll copy that over each day. And then I'm always going to have a little bit of milk as well, depending on what milk's in the fridge, if it's whatever. So it's so easy to copy and paste that. For my morning, for my breakfast, it's very similar. For my lunch, again, it's very similar. If I'm having a protein source that I've meal prepped, then of course that's in there, okay? Most of the stuff that I need in my MyFitnessPal is in the day before. So I copy and paste that bulk over. There might be a few things that have changed. I might be just running out of meal prep mid-week and needing to re-prep, or it might be coming into the weekend. But by copying and pasting everything over, I timed this every single day last week, and it takes me between 3 to 4 minutes. I screen record them. It takes me 3 to 4 minutes to copy and paste my day over, and then to make the adjustments necessary for me to succeed each day. How many people do you know? Are you the person who says they don't have time to track? Because I guarantee you're spending 3 or 4 minutes in the day nooning around where you could be prioritizing tracking. So of course, I'm sitting with my coffee and I fill in my MyFitnessPal. Then I go into my calendar. And in my calendar, that's where I'm checking. I'm like, where are my calls? Where are my meetings? Okay, am I training any clients in the morning? Am I training any clients in the evening? What time am I training today? And then I also enter what time I'm eating food. Do I have to run an errand? If I'm running an errand, I put that errand in my calendar. If I need to go for a walk, which I do because my step goal is 15K, okay? If I need to go for a walk or a few walks in the day, that goes in my calendar. It doesn't, people will think, I'll just go for a walk before I start work. And then before you know it, it's time to start work. So they don't get that silly little walk in. The best thing about my calendar, okay, and the reason I love it so much is also because it's color coded, which just gives me so much life. But the best thing about it is, and this is on all iPhones, your iPhone calendar, and then I use another calendar that's just called like the Calendars app. But it gives you a reminder 15 minutes before the task. So if you can set that function up on whatever calendar you use, I'm sure Google would have a similar one too, Google Calendars. If you can set that up where you get an alarm, a reminder 15 minutes before the task, then all of a sudden that perfectionist in you that needs a deadline works better than ever because you get that notification. In 15 minutes, you said you were going to get up and go for a walk, okay? So you better be wrapping up whatever you are doing on the computer, okay? That's me talking to me. So with this, by filling up my cup first, it's really important that I have more to give, okay? There are so many moving parts of my days, like everyone else, okay? Like you as well. So whether it be with clients, business, training, or family, when I start with my personal admin, I can hold myself to the standard that I'm inspired by when I see it in others, okay? When it comes to filling in that calendar, if you have some spare time, because I also put in time for play, I put in literally there's calendar entries that will say sunshine time. It might only be 30 minutes. And by putting that in, it's amazing. If I'm going for a swim, I might write playing mermaids. If I'm meeting a girlfriend at the park for lunch and we're sitting and eating our lunch for an hour, I might write playing fairies in the park. Okay, let your inner child be. Make your tasks of being an adult more enjoyable by giving them nice names if you need to. And putting emojis next to your calendar things. I don't care. Do what floats your boat, right? But when it comes to doing this personal admin first, okay, I'm doing something for myself first. I'm hydrating with water. And when I hydrate with that water, okay, I'm telling myself you are a healthy person because you drink water, okay? When I take my scale weight first thing in the morning, it's reaffirming the belief that I'm an athlete and I track my data so that we can make the right adjustments so that I can continue to be a good athlete. Okay, when I open my phone and the first thing I do is I do my MyFitnessPal, okay, that's reaffirming the belief that I'm an athlete. And in order to achieve my goals as an athlete, there are particular targets on my Fitness Pal that the closer I can meet to them, the better. Okay, it's not a forever thing. And I think it's really important to highlight, especially for those who have followed along for the food healing journey, when there is no point stressing over what you're eating. And this is something that has been I felt so much gratitude for my coach. And she probably thinks I'm really weird because I'm just so grateful for her. But when it comes to choosing this goal that requires a diet, so if you're choosing to embark on a fat loss phase, that sort of a thing, you sort of need to just put food in that basket of, I'm just not going to be fussed about it. Okay. I'm going to make sure that in terms of, I'm not sure if you guys could hear that. Mum's probably just dropped a pumpkin in the kitchen. I just heard her go, ooh, after something heavy dropped. But anyways, when it comes to achieving this fat loss goal and you put food into that basket like it is what it is, it's like prep what you like, make sure that it's nutritious. And I'm going to get into this a bit more as well. But putting yourself in that box of like, oh, I love food so much, I'm so fixated on it. You probably need more time out of a diet. Okay, and that's okay. No one cares if you lose 5 kilos in between now and the next 6 weeks, or if you lose 5 kilos in between now and the next 12 months. Okay, what matters, no one cares as well if you lose the 5 kilos in general. Okay, so the more that you can focus on, is my nutrition serving my goals? Okay, and are these habits serving my goals? The better that you will be. And the more that you can align with a goal that is actually going to be something you enjoy pursuing, or something that you know is worthy of pursuit and is necessary of pursuit. So if you're healing your relationship with food, you probably need to put my Fitness Pal down. For the sake of where I'm at and for the sake of using my own experiences, I'm obviously in that stage, again, where prepping for my show, that I am really prioritizing being on top of my nutrition. But I have to highlight and I have to remind you guys that last year, and again, I've spoken about this on a few episodes, so I won't drag on, but last year in the Philippines, when I was there, I made it a point every day. I obviously wasn't tracking my food. Okay, I cooked 1 or 2 meals at home a day, just get enough sort of protein in, and make sure I wasn't just getting all foods that could be cooked in more vegetable oils, that sort of a thing. I was just cooking stuff in coconut oil. And then I made it a point every single day on my walk in the morning, I would walk and I would look at a new bakery and I would pick a treat. And then after my walk, I would go back to that bakery later in the day, after lunch usually, and I would buy that treat. I had no idea what cakes I was eating most days, okay? Like a Xiao Pao, which is a really yummy little like bread pastry. Anyone who's Filipino or from Siargao might be able to give me more info on that. But it's really important to note that it's not all about being robotic if you are struggling with your relationship with food. So of course I just wanted to give that little bit of a side note. But again, and for the sake of where I am in my prep, I'm going to continue on with what I was saying before. So with our daily action plans and with showing up better for yourself with that, the best thing that you can do is when you start your day, and you can just open notes up on your phone. Make sure your phone is on do not disturb or sleep mode, please, so you don't start going into your notifications. But just write down your top 3 to 5 priorities for the day. Think self-care, workouts, meals, and rest. Okay, remember the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And again, you might not tick absolutely everything off, but when it comes to getting through your plans for each day, a clear plan will help to keep you focused and accountable and manage your stress. Okay, even if you don't complete anything, you can still be accountable to that list and you can move particular tasks to the next day. You can prioritize them on a particular day where you've been neglecting them. So if you're like me and recording this podcast, I have a weird thing where if it's not done by Thursday, it's not getting done until next Wednesday. And here we are. So in terms of getting stuff done, so often, if it's not written down, you're only human. You have so many other external focuses that will be prioritized throughout the day. Write down what matters to you. Okay. Instead of being a human and being forgetful, okay, being forgetful, not your fault. Choosing to actively not prioritize what you want to prioritize is your fault. Next point, accountability systems. So another non-negotiable for me when it comes to achieving my goals is having an accountability system. So think friends, training partners, clients, okay, coaches, filling other people in on your goals. Maybe not going a bit crazy and just telling everyone everything that you want to achieve that hasn't been achieved yet, because a lot of the times we can get that little bit of a dopamine rush where when someone is excited for our goals as well, it can trick our brain into thinking that we've actually already achieved that goal. And so then we don't work as hard to achieve it. So I think when it comes to accountability systems, really keep it to a focus of specificity. And instead of telling someone, instead of telling someone, I'm going to win my bodybuilding competition and come first, instead, it's, I'm going to recruit you for a hot girl walk in the summer. I'm going to have a lot of steps to hit, and I want you to know that I would love to call on you when I've got those steps to hit. Okay, another example. And these are things I've actually been telling to my support network. And another one is, I'm recruiting you as one of my beach babes. Okay, this means that in prep, when I'm hungry and I'm going to need a little bit of socialization, some time near the beach, I might not be feeling my best self. I might be feeling a little bit tired, that sort of a thing. But I would love to recruit you as my support network to hang out with me at the beach in the summer when it's sunny and we can tee up some swims. Okay, this works because having social support is a critical factor when it comes to maintaining your mental health. Okay, accountability from others has been linked to improve adherence goals. It reduces feelings of loneliness and it gives you higher levels of motivation. Okay, by instead of telling people I'm going to come first and saying instead, hey, I would love to have you be a part of my support network while I'm on this journey, it then puts you in the present. It's like, okay, this is what we're actually doing. Okay, it doesn't make the people that you're telling the goal go, you're going to win. Okay, it makes them go, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. So it really keeps you in that focus of continuing to pursue that goal. So that's the way that I've worded it to my friends as well. So an example, again, right now, I have check-ins with my coach, obviously, and then as well as that, I speak to my close friends. If I'm struggling to hit my steps, if I'm tempted to stray away from my nutrition plan, and this is a good example as well, but having someone hold me accountable helps to keep me aligned to my mission, okay? And this is a great thing with the nutrition plan and straying. My mum has just finished in her Ninja Foodie that I got her for her birthday. She's just finished eating a spring roll that she found. The ingredients are so good as well, and this is another layer of like the food thing. And when you're a foodie, I absolutely love food. Okay, when I read the back of the ingredients, I was like, these are frozen spring rolls, they're not going to be that good. And it's like pastry, cabbage, yeast, tallow. Okay, tallow instead of vegetable oil. I was like, oh, these are good. My mum also cooks as well for particular clients, and there's a lot of food, a lot of pastries, a lot of sweet stuff going around my house at the moment. And it's really important that one thing when it comes to straying from my nutrition plan, I've told my mum, I'm like, hey, my coach wants to make sure that I'm not having too much sodium. So I got to cut down on my pickles. I'm on a pickle restriction. Okay. I'm on a tamari sauce restriction. I'm on an anchovies restriction. Okay. Egg whites have sodium in them. Who knew? But in terms of telling my mum, one thing I also said was, hey, if I come into the kitchen, because I'm really trying hard not to pick, if I come into the kitchen and you see me sort of looking like I want something, just tell me to get out. Okay. And my mum probably won't do that. She's a little bit scared of me, I think, maybe. No, but in terms of what happens, I'll be in the kitchen sometimes. She'll be making something. I'll look at her. I'm like, I need you to tell me to get out right now. She'll go, shoo, get out. So it's really helpful that, again, when it comes to straying from your nutrition plans, when it comes to wanting to skip your steps, okay, you call on that support network. You go, hey girl, I've still got 4K steps to go. Can we meet up for an evening walk? Okay, even if you don't have 4K steps, if you've got 2K steps, if we can just get out there together so that it gets me starting my walk. Okay, and likewise, the more that I've recruited my friends for this, the more, and recruited particular girlfriends for this, the more that those girlfriends have actually also reached out to me and been like, hey, can we meet up for an evening walk? I need to get my steps. Can we meet up for a swim? I need to just get in the water. And it's been so, so beautiful because it really creates that community of we're in this together, achieving our goals, achieving our personal goals, okay? But we're in this together and we support each other. It's so, so beautiful. So when it comes to my clients as well, I want to remind you that they have weekly check-ins with me. This helps both the clients to see more success with their fitness and their mental health because of the consistent touch point, but it also helps when it comes to us and we think about that bigger picture, okay? We've got a lot of clients right now prepping for the end of year I Am Strength photo shoot. Okay. Some of them are dieting, some of them are building into it. And I absolutely love this. By keeping them focused on the photo shoot goal, it's like, hey, we want to make sure that when you get to there on the day, that you're like, you know what? I left no stone unturned. I came against these adversities and I worked through them as best as I could. And that's so beautiful to be watching and touching on these points with particular clients during those weekly check-ins. So likewise for you, when it comes to speaking to your coach, or if you do not have a coach, you do not need to be alone. We have plenty of coaching options. Hit the link in my bio on my Instagram. When it comes to creating a support network, it is literally just a matter of electing a handful of people who you know are supportive. Okay. It doesn't have to be, again, I've got girls who are not even my clients who message me on Instagram to fill me in on how they're going with their goals. They're not my clients, but they touch base with me because they know that I support them towards their goals. Okay. I've got ex-clients who still reach out to me and tell me what they're doing with their progress. And it's something that when it comes to your support network, I don't want to say that it just has to be people around you, but it's obviously fantastic to have physical humans around you. But it can also just be, hey, I really love your stuff. I'm so inspired by you. I'm currently pursuing my fat loss goals. Do you mind if I send you an update in 4 weeks of how I'm going? Do you know how great that would feel to receive that sort of a message? And so when it comes to creating your accountability systems, okay, recruiting that support network, okay, this is where finding an accountability partner, an accountability friend, a coach, okay, even a journal where you record your progress daily, or a lot of people turn to social media and they say, hey, I'm doing 75 hard and this is what I have to tick off each day. All of a sudden, they feel obliged and accountable to that. And so you can tap into that as well. And you can help when it comes to accountability and when it comes to measuring your progress, you can then discuss any roadblocks and work through them as well. Okay, you can recruit support networks either, again, socially, online, you can just post on your stories. Okay, you can recruit a support network by messaging someone. And then no doubt you probably got 1, 2, or 3 people around you. And for myself personally, I found that asking my mum to support me on this journey when she saw me very sad in my last prep, asking her to support me, I was like, I need to explain and I need to be like, hey, like I need you. Now we know what could potentially happen. Okay. Now we know I'm choosing this. Now we know it's not like I'm in the middle of it and I just don't want to quit because like then I've got to explain to everyone I'm not doing it anymore. Now we know that the hunger is there. I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see what I can pursue. And now, because I didn't let my mum move in with me until after the show last time I competed, now that we live together, okay, now that this is happening, I need to let you know that when you're baking stuff, it's not like you don't have to, like you should stop baking. If I can ask that things be kept in the freezer so they're not as tasty to reach for, that would be amazing. Instead of, say, baking heaps of yummy little cookies and leaving them on the bench, okay? If we can instead package them up so they go into someone else, that sort of a thing, because my mum and I both love to cook for other people too. By doing this, it's now created an environment where the communication between us is so clear. It's like, hey, these are my meals for the day. I put them in these containers if you can not touch those containers. But or I've already weighed it, so you can have like that much, whatever. If you can not touch those containers, that would be really handy because they're my meal prep. And if you see me dipping into your food, you're also more than welcome to tell me not to. Okay. And that's been really, really beautiful, again, to be using that accountability system when it comes to not only achieving my goals, but then also being able to remind myself that every time someone else might remind me of my goal, it reminds me again. So sometimes when I forget and I'm like, oh, I'm not in prep. And then I'm like, oh, I am. Sometimes I forget. And instead it's like, hold on. Remember you said you had a pickle restriction. And I'm like, oh, I got to put that jar back then, don't I? Or like, I'm just not going to buy them. It's like, hey, if you buy pickles, please eat them. I'm not going to eat them. Okay. If you buy XYZ, go ahead and eat them. Do not save them for me. I won't eat them. Okay. And that's been really beautiful to have that accountability system and recruit it as well. Now, the next point that I want to discuss is positive self-talk. And so this is big when it comes to self-talk and the way that you speak about yourself. Okay. It's something that can either lift you up or tear you down. Your greatest supporter is yourself. And likewise, your greatest opponent, okay, the person, okay, and I know you can see them if you visualize them in your head right now, the person that knows how to push every single one of your buttons, every single one of them, okay, it's not your partner. it's not your kid, it's you. It probably is your kid because they're a full reflection of you and parts of you that can be healed, and parts of you that, yeah, your kid's a full reflection of you. But you are the only one who can really grind your gears. You are the only one who, if you say, hey, today we're going to have the worst day, okay, we're going to wake up, we are horrible, we hate our body, okay, we hate our body, we hate our face, our eyes are weird, our face is puffy, all that sort of a thing. We reinforce all of those beliefs, okay? Every thought that you think and hold on to, because we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts stream through our mind a day. They're not always going to be nice. Some of them are going to be really intrusive. Some of them are going to be really weird, okay? And some of them are going to be temptations you would never act on, okay? Some of them are going to be anxious thoughts of what could happen if a bus runs over an animal because an animal runs out onto the road. Like, all these things and these thoughts that pass through your brain, they can be so horrible if you hold on to them. And so when you bring yourself back to the present and you choose the identity I'm showing up with today, okay, I'm an athlete, okay, I'm a lover girl. That's one thing I've been putting into my affirmations at the moment. Where did that music just come from? Oh my gosh, my mum's playing Candy Crush and it's connected to my treadmill speakers. Anyways, so where was I? The power of self-talk. So when it comes to being, another good one is like being patient, or being someone who chooses not to overreact, not to get angry. That's something that, and that's a lot of overreaction comes from, again, that desire for perfectionism, that desire for control. Okay. But when we speak to ourselves and instead we say, I'm going to start this day today, I'm a lover girl. Okay. I'm going to make everyone's day that I come across, I'm going to try and make it a little bit better. Okay. I'm going to see people's inner child like I see my own, and I'm going to meet them with compassion. Okay. Sometimes the first thing I do, because for a mental health, you should have about 8 hugs a day. And sometimes I'm getting 0 if my cats don't count. So sometimes I start, and I know this can sound, I'm actually really excited to share this because I'm sure people don't know it, and all my clients think I'm crazy when I explain to them. But sometimes when you hug yourself, you can also get that same response in the body. So sometimes in the morning, the first thing I'll do, I'll give myself a big hug, I'll wrap my arms around me, and I'll be like, we got this. Let's have a great day. It doesn't matter how the day is going to unfold. I'm setting that intention. And this is where your self-talk, okay, your self-talk is what determines your mental resilience. It's what determines a lot of your stress levels and your ability to tolerate stresses in your life. You can even boost your physical performance with positive self-talk. Okay, there's a difference from doing a rep, okay, and it gets hard, it gets sticky in that middle. And there's a difference between saying, it's too heavy, I can't do it. And there's a difference between saying, I can fucking get this up. Okay, that's $1 for my swear jar. Because I also started a swear jar, which I think I said at the start anyways. Now, on the flip side, so our negative self-talk can be linked to higher levels of depression, anxiety, and a lack of motivation. Okay, during prep, on days where I might be struggling, days where I might be tired, especially yesterday, my period came 4 days early. I still had a training day, so it wasn't, could have come on leg day, which would have been tough, but I still had training day. My back was hurting, my belly was hurting. It really, like, it hurt to walk the G-force of the walking, okay? Just the sort of up and down steps. I had 15K steps to do, and there was a choice where it was like, this is so painful, I can't move. And there was, okay, I'm just going to do what I can. I'm going to make sure that if I do a 10-minute walk, it's like you're allowed to sit down for 30 minutes after and do something else, that sort of a thing. So on days where you might be struggling, it's so easy to be like, you're not going to be able to achieve this, okay? You'll never be stage ready, okay? There's, you'll never be able to get that pose without falling. You'll never be able to spin in those heels. You're crazy, okay? You'll never be able to be as strong, to have as much glute mass, to have as much muscle, all that sort of a thing. Your cells listen to everything that you say about yourself, and your cells act accordingly. When you flip your script, which sometimes you've just got to reframe it, okay? Sometimes you've just got to reframe it. And instead of being like, I'll never be stage ready, be like, I'm going to do everything I can to focus on this day ahead. It's how can I nail just this day? Okay, this day, it's 3 p.m. where I am right now. All I've got to do is get to about 7:30 p.m. tonight. Okay, that's 4.5 hours. 4? Yeah, so it's 3:30. So sorry, there's 4 hours left of the day. how can I just make sure I nail this next 4 hours? How many more steps have I got to do? Have I got to drink any more water? Am I missing a meal? Am I banking calories? That sort of a thing. Am I pushing out for a meal? Am I hungry? Do I need to go out for a walk? Okay, spinning in my heels, because I've been loving practicing posing now, thanks to the girls that I've reached out to in regards to some posing lessons too. And in terms of spinning in my heels, in terms of doing all that funny stuff, okay, instead being like, I might not be spinning today, but I'm going to get one step closer. Okay, why don't we just slow it down? Why are we trying to move so fast when the show is like 6 months away? I think it's 5.5 months away now. Okay, why are we moving through everything so quickly, acting as if it needs to be perfect right now when it needs to be perfect on the day? And in terms of practice, there is, because I worked it out the other day, I think there's like let's say it was like 120 or 150 or 170. Anyways, whatever like 5.5 months is, there's that much time left between now and prep. And so, or now and sorry, at the show. So when it comes to being able to just focus on the right here, right now, okay, it's how can I do this better? Instead of I'm never going to be XYZ, it's like, what if today I just act like I might be able to actually achieve it? Your perspective is everything. And the same person, like I said before, who sees the hard set, who sees the challenging conversation with a partner as confirmation that they can't do something, that they're not worthy of even trying, it's the same exact person who, if they reframed their perspective, what if I make this set? What if this conversation guides me to exactly where I need to grow, to grow, okay? When it comes to our perspective, I want to always remind you that growth is uncomfortable. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And it's not to say that you don't need moments where there is no discomfort or very little discomfort. But if you are never uncomfortable, you are never growing. And so when you remind yourself that the uncomfortable feeling you're feeling right now, okay, the uncomfortable situation you're in, this is where the growth happens if I choose it. Okay, this is where I can choose to cower away and I can choose to make excuses for myself. I can choose to surrender and just be like, you know what? I feel like rubbish. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Okay. That's where that hard part, okay, that resistance that you're facing, if instead of saying, I can't do this, I'm not going to do this, I can't be bothered, who cares, that sort of a thing, instead of being like, oh, that's the thought that I need to grab onto right now. It's that resistance that if I push through this resistance, I create the new narrative that I am strong enough to get through this. And every time you choose to sit your butt down instead of move through that resistance, you reinforce the belief that all you ever do when things get hard is sit your butt down and sit out. So when instead we can remind ourselves that the uncomfortable situations we're in is where the growth gets to happen if we choose so, you can get peace of mind, you can get experience, and you can grow. Progress happens here. Okay, visualize a little chicken and egg. Okay, chick in an egg. A chick doesn't crack open the egg from the inside, which if you've ever smashed an egg on the bench trying to open it to put it in the what's called the pan, okay, if you've ever cracked an egg, you know that it's not as simple as a little just dainty fluff touch. Okay, imagine you are a baby, you have not seen anything of the world, you've only been alive for a few days in this goo. How hard do you have to peck until that thing finally breaks? Do you think they just lean up against the shell and it just opens up for them and rolls out a red carpet? No. Okay, they got to peck it a few times. Growth happens, okay? And growth happens by leaning into that discomfort in a way where you're choosing to use that discomfort for your growth, okay? You can't grow and avoid the unknown journey of that next step at the same time. You have to choose to lean into that unknown journey of the next step and know that you can achieve what you set out to for yourself and know that you are worthy of achieving that too by telling yourself that you are worthy of achieving that thing too. So how you can use the power of self-talk is start catching yourself when you're saying something negative. Then replace it with something positive and more empowering. Okay, simple as that. It's reframing your perspective. And if you don't believe it, okay, even if you don't believe it, reframing and repeating that phrase. Also, your cells listen to that and your cells act accordingly. Want to fail? Tell yourself you're a failure. Want to succeed? Tell yourself, I've got this. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I've got this. Okay. And if I don't have it now, fail, first attempt in learning. Okay. Acronym. If I don't have it now, I can still get it. Okay. If anyone knows the story of David Goggins, where his first ultramarathon I want to say his first one, and he just ended up really like messed up trying to compete it, trying to finish it, or he actually finished it. But I have a feeling he was just shy of completing his first one, and now he's completed like 220-mile ultra marathons, like huge ones. When it comes to growing and when it comes to seeing the potential in yourself, being able to say, this is helping me grow, and being able to say, I can do everything I need to, and I'm capable of achieving my goals. Okay, I can do this. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. Okay, is such a powerful tool. Next is habit stacking for consistency. So another game changer is our habit stacking. So this is my water while I'm at the computer. Okay, water before I have my coffee is how I habit stack that. Okay, the way to make habits stick is by attaching them to an existing routine. Some people will say, I don't really feel like I have much of a routine. And so I want to remind you that you do, because you wake up every morning, and for the love of God, I hope you brush your teeth every morning too. Okay, I hope you get in a shower. Okay, with that, one thing when it comes to our habit stacking is we want to put things with, pair, or do them at the same time as parts of our existing routine. Okay, according to behavioral science, habit stacking leverages the power of cue, routine, reward loops, which help to anchor new habits and establish routines. Studies show that habits, when stacked, are easier to maintain because they become automatic much quicker over time. Whereas when we try to put a completely new habit in the middle of nothing, there's nothing automatic around it. There's nothing that, when it comes to our programming, 95% of what we do each day, 95% of how we think, how we feel, is subconscious. Okay, we're not making the decision to wake up in the morning and brush our teeth consciously. That's just something that's habit, and that's subconscious programming, that's subconscious wiring. So when it comes to anchoring habits that you want to start doing and making more of a habit, you've got habit stacking, and then you've got, of course, I love our reminders on our color-coded calendars, which I obviously touched on before as well. So an example is drinking water while on the computer is something that I'll do. So I'll never sit at my computer without a beverage. I'm not sure when I started that habit, but in terms of being at my computer, I will always have a little beverage. Okay, it might be a tea, it might be a coffee, it might just be water, because I'm trying to just drink normal water now. But I will always have water while I'm on the computer. And so in terms of hitting my hydration goal, I don't have an issue with that. And it's because when I'm at the computer, I feel like doing something with my mouth. Okay, get your mind out the gutter, everybody. But instead, what I can do is I can have a drink. Okay, instead of sitting and being like, I need a snack while I'm on the computer. I'm like, I can have a drink. If I look at the time, it's like, okay, once I finish XYZ task, I'll get up and I'll have something to eat, that sort of a thing. Especially now being in a diet where my calories are restricted, I'm in a state where my body will tell me, hey, hun, we're not getting enough nutrients. Okay, you're not giving us all we need. Okay, and then I'll get that little tummy grumble, and that's my fat crying because I'm in a fat loss phase for prep. So when it comes to habit stacking, drinking water on the computer is huge. Okay, not sitting on the computer, drinking water while you are doing work on your computer. And then also reviewing my posing routine right after training. If I tell myself, again, something that with my calendar, it helps to, because I get that reminder. But if I tell myself I'm going to pose today at 4 p.m., okay, the desire I have to pose when it's not good weather outside, there's so many other things I can do, I'm feeling a bit tired, okay, all that sort of a thing. The desire I have to get down there and get at it, because posing in my garage, is quite low. But instead, if I've got to go down there to stretch, okay, if I've got to go down there to train, or if I'm training at the gym, and then I make sure I go to the bathroom at the gym so I don't need to come back upstairs at home, the first thing I do is I'm like, okay, I'm going into the garage, and I'm not allowed upstairs until I do that posing. I do my posing every single time. If I got to go down to the garage to stretch, okay, I might say I'm stretching for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I'll go down and I'll stretch. I'll move through it. And because I'm already down there, I'm like, I'm already down here, may as well do the posing that I said I would do. And so because these habits are linked to things that I'm already doing and already very committed to doing, I'm not going to skip my training. I'm not going to skip my stretching. I'm less likely to skip the habits that I attach to them. Okay, you're noticing my morning as well, and there's something I want to highlight, and both Soph and I had the same thing as well with our mornings. It's very easy to go straight to the coffee. It's very easy to go to the bathroom, take a scale weight, make the coffee, eat the coffee, drink the coffee. Anyways, in terms of practicing drinking water. This was something that I used to have my coffee, and because the coffee was hot, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to swallow my subs with hot water, hot coffee. So instead, I'm going to just have my sups later. I'll have them when I get up next and I bring my coffee cup back to the kitchen. I'd do that all the time. I'd say, I'll do my sups later. I'd skip the sups, and then I'd say, I'll try better tomorrow. Okay. And I spent months of trying to be better tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. So now I habit stack. Water and sups must go first. Okay. It's similar to with my posing. If I'm coming back from the gym, I'm not allowed to go upstairs until I get that done. Okay. I'm not allowed to have my coffee until I sip that water and take my sups down. Even I might not feel like a whole glass of water, but I'm getting my sups down, which is going to require having some water. Okay. I also, in terms of habit stacking, and this also helps, again, just little things like licking spoons, very guilty of. So I also do oil pulling when I'm making my coffee in the morning. So because we put MCT oil in our coffee, MCT oil has a lot of benefits in terms of antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. And when it comes to our gut health, it's really important to note that your mouth is pretty much your first line of defense for your gut. Okay. And when 70% of our immunity is built up in our gut, okay, where 50% of where we create our serotonin, I think. I want to say it's 50%, or if it's might be 70 or 80, but I feel like it's 50. But a lot of what regulates your hormones to keep you happy, what regulates your immunity to keep you healthy, is in your gut. And your first line of defense is your mouth. So if one of the first things you do in the morning is make sure that you completely disinfect your mouth, okay, antibacterial, antimicrobial, it has fantastic benefits down the waterfall of your gut and your GI tract. It also, when it comes to coconut oil, when you oil pull with the MCT oil, it whitens your teeth. So because of that, I don't actually have to use teeth whitening products, okay? If I do, it's a very rare occasion. Whereas when I'm not oil pulling, I find the need and the desire is more heavily pulled to do more teeth whitening things, okay? Whereas when I simply just do oil pulling in the morning with my MCT oil, so it's just coconut oil, it doubles as helping me not to lick the spoon with honey on it, okay? But it also helps me to then, I tick off that little bit of my vanity box where I'm like, oh, I've got, like, my teeth look really nice and clean today. And how you can use your habit stacking is if you're trying to be more consistent with your workouts, you can link it to something you do every day, okay? One thing that a lot of people do is they go out to work. And so if you're like me and you like to do the, I wouldn't say incentives sort of a thing, but a little bit. If you go out to work each day, bring your gym gear with you and tell yourself you're not allowed to walk foot in the door at home until you've been to the gym. So you're going to go to the gym first to get the silly thing out of the way. It's not always going to be like, wow, I can't wait to train. Wow, I can't wait to, have water and pull coconut oil. But it's like, you're not allowed to have your coffee until you've had your subs. Okay. And I like to, again, in terms of leaning into communication with my inner child, we've really, for some reason, something's just tapped into me recently where I've just been really loving that sort of communication where it's like everything I get to do gets to be fun. And so it's like for stuff that might not be that fun. Okay. I'm making a coffee in the morning. It's like, cool. It is what it is. I do it every day. But instead being like, no, I know you want to have just the coffee straight away because it's very yummy. It's your favorite thing. But instead, we're going to oil pull first and then we're going to have the coffee. Okay. It's that delayed gratification. And when you practice delayed gratification, it makes it that much easier to stay adherent to your goals that require the delayed gratification to achieve them, such as phases of training where you might be building, or in a fat loss phase that lasts for a longer duration than a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Okay. Most of your goals will take more than 4 weeks to achieve. Newsflash. So when it comes to putting in the effort to achieve them, you're going to need to be able to practice delayed gratification. How can you better practice delayed gratification? Being like, I know you want to put your feet up on that couch, honey. I know you want to sit in that bath right now, but you said you would do posing before you go upstairs. And you're not going upstairs until you get that posing done. Or another thing for me, if I'm waiting for lunch or dinner, and this is also a good fact when it comes to gut health too, is when we have a bath, okay, baths are absolutely fantastic for your recovery. What they do though is they draw water out or away from your GI tract and out to your extremities, okay, closer to the skin. Because you're obviously in a hot bath, so it's pulling all that water, pulling all that blood out, okay, of your core, essentially. Like in very layman's terms, it's a really poor example, sorry. But what happens is when we have a big meal and then we get in the bath, okay, the blood, so when you've had a big meal, you need your blood to go to your GI tract to get things moving, get things contracting, get things moving along and digesting well. If you have a big meal and then you get straight in a bath, all the blood that was going to your gut now comes back out to your extremities. And so that slows motility down, that slows digestion down. When we have digestion that's slowed down, that then inhibits our ability to break down as much of the food and absorb the nutrients from it. If we slow down motility so much, we might find that we're constipated the next morning because we decide to have a big hot bath after a big dinner. Okay, straight away, that sort of thing, because we need to get the bath in for our recovery. So for habit stacking, to close up on that, the way that I habit stack my baths is I'm like, you're not having dinner or you're not having lunch until you've had a bath first. Because if you eat, and again, fun fact for everyone, if you eat, you really shouldn't be having a sauna or bath for about 2 to 3 hours after that meal. And if you're someone like me, I don't like that sort of restriction, okay? I would rather do the sauna or the bath for 30 minutes or 45 minutes first, and then eat, and then get about my day, not worry about it too much, okay? Because again, if you're sitting still anyways after having a big meal, that also slows motility compared to when you might be able to get up and walk around. And then finally, nutrition is self-care. So when it comes to nutrition, viewing what you choose to fuel your body with, okay, what you choose to put in your body, whether it be also when it comes to our diet, whether it be the people that we hang around, the news that we read, the social media accounts that we follow, the music we listen to, the podcasts, the books, all that sort of thing. Our diet is everything that we put in our body. And when we can view that as self-care, it becomes a non-negotiable for both our physical and mental health. The quality of what we put in our body can directly impact how we feel mentally and physically. So when we're talking about food, studies show that a balanced diet rich in nutrients reduce the risk of depression and anxiety. And this is the gut-brain connection, which in our gut podcast that I did, I released a little bit of that information. And then also we have a great podcast with Holistic Gut Health Charlie. If you scroll back to those episodes, you can listen to that too. Remember, when you're filling your body with nutrient-dense foods, your energy is going to stay high, your mind is clear, you're going to be more focused on your goals. For me, when I'm in prep, I always compare when I'm brought into a state where I might sort of fall short and be like, I really want something that's heavily processed. I really want something with gluten today, or whatever sort of might have a weird craving, which I'm very fortunate again at the moment. There's been absolutely nothing. But hypothetically, what happens when I have those foods is my energy dips. I start feeling sluggish mentally and physically. Okay, we picked up that when I have a lot of, and this is really funny, a lot of vegetables, because they're quite high in fiber, I'm really sluggish, I'm really bloated, and really full. So we've dropped my fiber down quite a bit. I love vegetables. You guys know how much I could just eat 0.5 kilogram of vegetables 3 times a day, every day for the rest of my life. They're so good. But it creates an inflammatory response in my body. I can't tolerate that much fiber. And so when it comes to filling my body with foods that keep me on track to my goals, I actually have more energy. I'm actually not as hungry between meals. I'm not lethargic, and I don't go to bed feeling bloated and heavy. I go to bed feeling light. I get a good sleep. My skin is clearer. Okay, I'm not holding on to as much water. My face isn't puffy. All these little things happen when I choose to eat foods that help to fuel my body and fuel my nourishment, instead of just eating stuff because it's what we usually eat in the house, or eating stuff because it's like I just felt like it. There's a time and a place where healing your relationship with food, and I want to highlight this as well, is going to take priority, where you're going to have more of those gluten, dairy, all that sort of a thing. You might not feel the best physically, and it may give you more brain fog. And this is where, in terms of the nuances of healing your food, it's so beautiful to work with a therapist or a coach, someone like that, because it helps to bridge that gap a little bit so you can not freak out like, well, what am I doing? But when it comes to nutrition as self-care, it's important that the bulk of your diet should be foods that are nourishing you. But when it comes to including things to ease your restrictions that you might have around food, it might be like, okay, my breakfast and dinner is going to be super nutrient dense, but for lunch, I need to eat this trigger food to break through that barrier. I did this in Bali and Philippines last year. Obviously, I spoke about the bakery. I don't know what was in that stuff at the bakery ever. Okay, sometimes it was purple, so it was probably taro. Sometimes it was a weird pineapple cake. I'm not sure. But in Bali was a similar thing last year. I would take myself out for dinner and I'd be like, okay, I need to break through this barrier. I need to go order a burger. And I ordered the most, or not the most, sorry, but when you can order a burger and you can order the chicken breast burger and it's like boring. Okay, so I ordered a real dense burger. It had poutine on, it had fries, it had it was definitely a beef burger. I really wanted the one with the arancini ball that comes on top of the burger, but I ordered the wrong one. For those who go to, what's it called? Not Pepper. Something in Bali. Those who know the burger with arancini ball sitting on top, you know what I'm talking about. But I was really scared. And that was where, again, there's a time and a place where you have to remember that the bulk of your nutrients should always be for self-care, for nourishment. But when it comes to nourishment, there's also that prong that is mental health as well, which is breaking through those barriers of trigger foods. So you can, if your goal is to enter a particular fat loss phase, if your goal is to potentially compete, that then when it comes to holding back from consuming particular foods for a period of months, right? Going through stages of feeling hungry or stages of having really intense cravings, stages of having to say no to particular foods, that instead of feeling restrained and feeling asphyxiated by the fact that you've chosen to restrict yourself from this because you can't have it, you're not allowed. Instead, you can feel empowered and be like, wow, when I used to say that I didn't want to order a burger, even though everyone else was ordering one, I used to feel really left out. I used to feel really shit, and all I would want is that burger. And now when I'm like, no, you know what, guys, I'm not going to eat. I'm just going to hang out. I'm going to go grab something after. I just want to hang out with you guys. It's like, look at how much I've grown. And so that brings us back to that self-talk habit as well, that perspective. Okay. So again, when it comes to what you eat, right now, being in my bodybuilding prep, I'm being extremely mindful of what I'm eating. But I've also spent that period of time that was a better part of about 18 months being like, girl, what do you want? Why do you want it? Can we include this in our day and break through these trigger foods, break through these negative attachments that we have to food? Okay. So I like to use this tool as thinking of every meal as a form of self-care. Ask yourself, is this meal nourishing my body and my mind? Okay. Remember that your nutrient-dense foods are going to be the ones that energize you, improve your focus, and keep you feeling positive. But it's also important to remember that if you have things like you feel like you can never have chocolate cake or you can never have ice cream, it's like, go buy a scoop, go get a slice and share it with a friend, okay? Breaking through your triggers when it comes to emotional eating will always take precedence over trying to stay in a calorie deficit for 6 or 8 weeks. Because I promise you, you can nail that 6 to 8 weeks. But if your restriction is met with the feeling of scarcity and met with the feeling of sadness and frustration, that restriction, if it's not empowering you, it is only going to backfire harder than you can imagine at the end of your journey. So it's really important choices that you make in your life help to inspire you to show up better for yourself and help to inspire you to show up and achieve the goals that you know that you can achieve and that they're going to require a bit of work, and that's okay. Okay, they're going to require work, but you also are able to achieve them if you really want to and if it's really aligned for you. And then, of course, I like to always bring faith into it and remind myself that when it comes to my divine plan, my divine timing, okay, the act of me freaking out is only trying to tell God or whoever's above that I don't trust them, that you can't do this, you don't know what you're doing. Whereas instead, when I am like, okay, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can, and then you know what, it's out of my hands, it's in God's hands. You're met with this, I can achieve and pursue anything I want, and I know that everything that is meant for me is not going to pass me by. And it is such a beautiful, beautiful state of mind to create for yourself. When it comes to study references for what I've spoken about today, I'll also include some of these in the show notes. But other than that, I want to remind you guys that being able to show up for yourself, okay, whether that be choosing not to eat the food or whether that be choosing to eat the food, okay, when it comes to showing up for yourself, it is the greatest act of self-love, okay? You get to choose to fill the bank up, okay, fill the account up. That is the evidence that you are someone who shows up and does what you say you do. Okay, the evidence in that bank account that you keep putting your deposits in that say, I'm proud of the person I am, versus the withdrawals that you're having that are going to nothing. Okay, so like the fact that Amazon makes it so easy to buy everything, it's like 2 clicks. That wasted money, it's like wasted time, wasted energy. Yes, you might have more of it, but you also know when you look after yourself, when you show up as your best self, you feel so good and you're better equipped to achieve almost anything. When it comes to my journey, I know that when I remember to show up for myself, when I step on stage in April, okay, I'm going to be so damn proud of how much I have grown in between now and my last prep. And so proud of the time that I spent out of the deficit, because that ultimately has allowed me to come into this next stage and be so laser focused with my goals. And I am so proud of myself, and I have so much belief in myself as well that I'm going to achieve great things. And that is because I've been following these 5 principles relentlessly, where again, it's just getting that focus in myself that I know I can do this. It reminds me that when I have days where I'm feeling anxious, when I have days where I'm feeling stressed, overwhelmed, feel like I can't do it for myself, I'm like, look at all the evidence. You've already done it. You've already shown up for yourself every single day. And it's so beautiful to have that self-belief. And that self-belief is not wished upon. It is created by your consistent actions. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode, and we'll catch you on the next episode where I might discuss a bit more of my prep. I'm so sorry. I've been just totally ghost mode. Again, just being really like laser focused on myself and work, and things are going really well though. In terms of the next few episodes, I want to remind you guys we've got some cool guests coming on that I've been speaking to. But as well as that, I want to remind you guys that in regards to coaching, the link is always in my bio on my Instagram, which now comes up with a little menu for you to choose different options, whether it be premium one-on-one coaching with myself or with Soph, our junior coach. And then also we have other options like the Academy. And then we have our women's event. Our next women's event, by the time this podcast drops, is 3 days away. So it's just a little women's connection morning based in Sydney. If you are in Bali in November as well, I would love if you could reach out to me so we could organize to meet up as well. Other than that, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, evening, whenever you are listening to this. Remember, you are worthy of every single goal that you set out to achieve, and you can do it, okay? I believe in you. I'm sending light and love your way. You fucking got this.